What would you do right now if you had unlimited courage? What conversation have you been putting off? How long have you been pondering that maybe you're going to muster your courage to raise your fees? I know I go through that. I'm going to share with you how everyday courage has changed my life. So how many of you naturally heard in common conversations when you were growing up the word courage? So I just want you to know this is very normal. No one raises their hand, and I had one person that did, and I said, liar, liar, pants on fire. So what you need to know, why? Why can't we say this big word? We'll get into that. This handout that you have represents the first 5 years of my research. And if you look at that, you'll see that there are 12 behaviors of courage. So these are concrete applications. Matter of fact, the word virtue in Latin is vers, meaning energy. So they all have 12 energies that when you become more courage conscious about who you are, you can say, wow, maybe I need to have the courage to take a risk. Maybe I need the courage to speak up. Why did I swallow my voice in that meeting? What was going on with me? How many of you, raise your hand, are willing, just in this 30 minutes, to be willing to give yourself permission to claim your courage? Raise your hand. Now, I'm going to tell some of my stories, which takes the courage to be vulnerable, and also the potential that, I could be rejected, because we know the 3 biggest fears are death, public speaking, and rejection. I mean, that's why we may all swallow our voice in a meeting, is because we're concerned, what if they say this? What if they say that? So none of my stories I'm going to confess to you right now are sensational, amazing, tragic, or scandalous. Those are the sound bites that our culture looks for, which is why everyday courage is difficult to claim in ourselves. So we all have those big red flags. And it's whether or not in your courage consciousness you can stay centered in yourself so that you can see that red flag. Now, here's the deal. You want to be able to look at why. Why does it take 2 red flags, 3 red flags, 4 red flags for you to finally make a decision to stand in your courage? So denial is saying no to courage. My choice allowed me to demonstrate a small legacy step in my courageous life. That means I was standing in my true self, so that when the time comes for me to pass on, I am not filled with regrets, because regrets are lost courage. Another critical skill that changed my life is to trust my intuition, to respond to the first red flag, and to be able to make a choice in that, being present to your heart's message. When you are able to do that, your true self shows up. Most of us tend to live in our false self. Most people think they confuse in our culture courage and being foolhardy. So when I say courage, remember the one thing is coming from your heart and spirit. And there's my hands again, but what we think is that I need to be foolhardy, so, or if my teeth aren't shaking and my knees, aren't clicking, how can I possibly have courage? And it makes it very hard because it is innate. It is inside of us. What are some of the hindrances to courage? I want to share with you just 4. Courage concepts are, first of all, deceptively simple. I've been a trailblazer in this, like I said, for over 20 years. And why is it deceptively simple? Because the ego wants to create something complex. Unless it's really, like, oh, my brain can barely handle this, how can it be important? Another hindrance to courage is that there's an innate preference to staying stuck in our old scripts. Like a bad version of Groundhog Day. We keep doing the same thing over and over and over. I'd like to summarize the why nots that you might want to write down. And these are not going to cost any of you a dime. There's not one thing in here that will cost you anything except maybe whatever you consider the price of your soul. So number 1, embrace the definition of courage. It is medieval Old French courage, meaning heart and spirit. Pay attention to the number of times during the week that you sell your soul. Note if denial runs your life, because denial blocks growth, and it will block you from living in your true self. And say the word. Don't discount it and somebody says it. Start saying the word. Say, I admired your courage to speak up in the sales meeting. You rarely speak up. I admired your courage. And then watch what they say. They'll probably go, oh no, I don't have courage. So say the word. The critical obstacle to courage is that we just do not use the word. What percentage of your life right now is filled with regrets? Watch how often you swallow your voice and be able to discern why. There are 8 courage killers. I'll give you just a few of them. They all start with a C. Complacency. I see that a lot when I'm out consulting in organizations. I see a lot of conformity and a lot of complaining. I see a lot of dispirited organizations and dispirited people. The first 5 minutes are really important when a person wakes up, is to reflect on this one question that I started out with. What would you do right now if you had unlimited courage?
Buying some books. Continue reading and get my courage level up from a 5 to an 8.
I totally related with your speech.
Everything you were saying really hits home.
What, anything in specific?
Specifically, speaking up.
I've been through many situations, personal and work, where courage has got me through it.
Probably the biggest thing for me as an obstacle is one of those C words you mentioned. Anytime I've ever been complacent in life, it's been, it stalls you out.
I got out of it that I have to hold myself accountable to situations that come up that I need to speak up about and I don't.
You're right, walk away from bad situations.
Quickly!
Yes.
Yeah, when you see that first
Don't
red
wait
flag,
for a second red flag.
Right.
You covered a lot of ground, so I'll be thinking about a lot of it.
What I loved about it was that you brought out a lot of points of courage that we don't think about every day. And by having the audience write them down, it improves that score.
I saw myself as an 8 after you finished talking.
I look forward to sharing all your books with my staff.
I had to come. That was the only reason I came to this luncheon, was to hear this message.
And Lily Tomlin said, all my life I've always wanted to be somebody, and I realize now I should have been more specific. So, with courage, you can become more specific. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you.